Alrighty guys, I've been kind of feeling compelled the last couple days to make a video, and today I kind of just finally had enough, and so I'm going to go ahead and make this video. Let me start off by saying that this video is probably going to be somewhat controversial, and with that being said, I'm open to comments and discussion and things like that, but if I see comments on there that are said, that are basically, that I know that they watched maybe the first part of the video or something and didn't watch the whole video and commented, if I see comments that show that the person didn't watch the video, I'm not even going to respond to comments like that. But what this video is going to be on is police shootings. We've had a couple here just recently in the United States, one of which I'm probably going to comment on, the other one I'm not. We had that Ferguson shooting that just happened just recently, and I'll be completely honest with you, me, like everybody else, do not really have enough facts on that whole situation to comment, so I'm not going to. And that's part of what this video is going to be about, is basically holding your tongue until you actually know what's going on or what you're even talking about. The one that brings this discussion up for me is one that hits kind of close to home. There was a shooting just barely in Saratoga Springs involving a young African-American male. I believe he's 20, 21, 22, somewhere right in those ages, and a Saratoga Springs police officer who ended up shooting and killing the kid. We're going to go through what we do know of that case, or what we've heard, which is what everybody else is going off of. And in this video, I'm going to say straight up, the investigation has not been released, which is part of my point in making this whole video, is the investigation has not been released, and there's been a lot of people just basically charging the police to death for shooting that kid, saying that the police need to be shown the same justice and need to be killed because they're saying it's a racist hate crime and stuff like that, which I don't believe it is, and I don't believe the Ferguson one is either. But that's all I'm going to say on the Ferguson one. I think that there's a lot of people out there looking for an excuse to be pissed off at society, at police, or whatever. But and they're using this as a reason without even getting the facts first. So let's start off with what the police do have the rights to do, and how we're going to do this is I'm going to go through what facts or what we have heard from that Saratoga Springs shooting. So if you're not familiar with it, I'm going to kind of enlighten you here on what we do know. At this point, the investigation hasn't been released. There was a call to go into, and let me say this too. A lot of those guys at the Saratoga Springs Police Office, I know them. I know a lot of the officers there, and all of them that I do know are really, really good guys. And but I have not been in communication with any of them, so I know no facts that the news or that I have heard, just like everybody else. But I will go out and say that those are a good group of guys over there. So, with that being said, we're going to talk about that shooting. So they get a call to respond to the Panda Express, which is there in Saratoga Springs, Utah. And on the call, I believe on the call they heard that there was a guy with a samurai sword there. Okay, so that's what they know. They're going to a call where there's a guy in a Panda Express with a samurai sword. So automatically, as a police officer, if you're not a police officer, you may not understand. If you are a police officer, the hairs are instantly standing up on the back of your head. This is not a good situation. This is not a good call. And so you're responding to a guy at a Panda Express with a samurai sword, which a samurai sword could do a lot of damage. And so when they get there, from what I understand, when they get there, the guy is outside the Panda Express. The police confront the individual. The guy lunges at them with a samurai sword, and then flees back towards the Panda Express, looking like he's kind of going to go inside where there are civilians in there in the Panda Express. Okay, and the police supposedly, I heard they shot him once in the stomach when he was, once in the front when he was lunging at them, and then shot him in the back as he was running away. But I don't know the facts, just like everybody else doesn't know the facts. He may have just been shot in the back. But what I'm going to talk about is basically that it doesn't matter. In this particular instance, the other allegation, which is, or the other thing that people are saying that no one actually knows for sure, is they're saying that the samurai sword was fake, was a replica samurai sword. It was not a real samurai sword. It was something that was purchased at a discount store or something like that. So it was not a real samurai sword. It was plastic or whatever. I'm not exactly sure. Nobody is at this point. Okay, so those are the facts. Those are what we know. So was this a wrongful death shooting given those circumstances? Okay, so here's what we're going to look at. The first thing I want to look at is I want to cover the weapon. This is my code book here, the Utah Traffic and Criminal Code book. You can tell that I use it quite a lot. And we're gonna go over the laws a little bit. Okay, so first, before I start, all the sections in the code book start off with a definition page. Okay, so we're gonna first read what the definition of a deadly weapon is, because that's going to be important later. Okay, because they're saying that the samurai sword was fake, or the samurai sword may have been real. Okay, and we're going to read the definition of how that works out as far as a deadly weapon is concerned. Okay, so it says dangerous weapon means, okay, any item capable of causing death or serious bodily injury. Okay, so a dangerous weapon is anything that can cause death or cause bodily injury. So I'm pretty sure we're all agreed that a samurai sword can do that, and has in the past. Okay, so next sentence. Or a facsimile or representation of the item if. Okay, so a facsimile or representation of an item. So those people that are saying the samurai sword was fake, this right here says it doesn't matter. And let me explain to you why that's important, okay? You go on a call as a police officer, and I'll give you this example really quick because this happened to a friend of mine, okay? He went on a traffic stop. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. He pulls the guy over at a traffic stop. And some of you people who aren't police may not understand this, but as soon as he pulled the guy over, the guy jumped out of his car and started running towards the police officer's car. Now, as a police officer, you're going to freak out a lot. Okay, you're not supposed to do that, just so you know, and it's going to definitely raise the police officer's blood pressure. Okay, so the cop gets out of the car and pulls his gun on the guy, which is exactly what I would do, and gave the guy direct orders. Okay, now when you have your gun out and it's a deadly situation like that, and you give the people orders, it's very important that those people follow the orders. Okay, if the people don't follow the orders, they may get shot, and that's also important in this Saratoga Springs case. Okay, so he gave this guy orders to put his hands up in the air and stop running. So instead of doing that, the guy reaches back behind him, lifts up his shirt and reaches back behind him. At that point, the police officer shoots the guy and kills him. Okay, the police officer is thinking that he's reaching back and grabbing a gun. Okay, so the guy didn't follow up orders. He did something else, which is automatically going to raise your blood pressure again, and reach back like he was grabbing a gun out from behind his back. Okay, and I'm a firearms instructor, and I've done a lot of firearms work. Okay, so I know the statistics and stuff as far as this kind of stuff goes. But me personally, I can draw my weapon from a holster and put 3 rounds on target in less than 1 second. Okay, so with that being said, now was this guy me? No, maybe not. And are there people who are faster than me? Definitely. But this guy reached back and grabbed a gun. So at that point, the officer has less than 1 second to react. So what would you do? It's 1 o'clock in the morning, guy's not following orders, and he's clearly crazy, like going nuts, okay? So officer shoots the guy. Afterwards, they find out that he was reaching back into his back pocket to grab his wallet. Okay? So, yes, that's a crappy situation. Sucks. Think the officer's happy that that happened? Definitely not. Knowing the circumstances afterwards, would the officer have done anything different, or would I have done anything different? Probably not. Okay? So it's very important to understand that when an officer gives you directions like that under those type of circumstances, that those directions have got to be followed. Because the police don't know you're reaching back for your wallet or a Glock, and they have less than 1 second to react. So you have to react. Okay? So it's very important to understand that. Okay. So we just read that part. Or a facsimile or representation of an item. So the people are saying the samurai sword is fake. And what I'm reading here is it doesn't matter. And that story I told you basically tells you why. Okay, the guy's reaching back to grab his wallet, but you don't know that. Fake swords look real. Real guns look fake. Fake guns look real. It's hard to tell. And when you're about to get killed by it, it's really hard to tell. Okay? Sorry if I'm a little bit heated over this, because I am actually a little bit heated over this. Okay. Now, after that it says, okay, so a facsimile or representation of the item if the actor's use or apparent intended use of the item leaves the victim to reasonably believe that the item is likely to cause death or serious bodily injury. Okay, so it could be a fake sword, that's fine. So even if he takes a fake sword and lunges towards a police officer, that's what all the eyewitnesses are saying, even if it's fake, it doesn't matter. The police officer thinks that it's going to kill him. Okay? Alright, so let's go on to what is justifiable use. Now granted, this is the state of Utah, okay? What's justifiable use for a police officer to use deadly force, okay? And if it applies in this situation, okay? So the people are saying that the cop, this is very important, that the cop shot the guy in the back, okay? And they did it because he was African American, okay? So he shot him in the back because he's African American and he hates African American people. Okay, so that's what they're saying. And what I'm seeing, what I think really happened, is the guy turned around and started running towards the Panda Express full of innocent people and got shot in the back. And let's take a look at the officer would have had the right under those circumstances to do so. Okay. They also gave him direct orders to drop the weapon in this case. There's a lot of eyewitnesses that have said that. Okay, so whether the weapon's real or fake, they told him to drop it and he didn't. He did something else, okay, which is important. A police officer says police officer's use of deadly force, code number 76-2-404. Sorry, this is going to be kind of boring. A peace officer or any person acting in his command or in his aid and assistance is justified in using deadly force when. Okay, here we go. The officer is acting in obedience and to the accordance with the judgment of a competent court in executing the death penalty. So that doesn't matter here. Okay, so they can kill somebody if they are carrying out a death sentence. Okay. Here's where it starts to get important. Affecting an arrest or preventing an escape from custody following an arrest. Okay, so whether the guy's armed or unarmed, if he's under arrest, which a guy with a samurai sword would have been, and tries to flee, you can kill him. Okay. You can use deadly force. Where the officer reasonably believes that deadly force is necessary to prevent the arrest from being defeated by escape. Okay, so if the guy's trying to escape, which that individual was. Okay, he may have been running in there to get hostages, may have been running in there to kill other people, okay, which is also important. The officer has probable cause to believe that the subject has committed a felony offense involving the infliction or threatened infliction of death or serious bodily injury. Okay, so that's important also, because he lunged at the police officers with what was believed to be a samurai sword, right? So, that is a felony. To attack a police officer with a deadly weapon is a felony, okay? So, right there is another reason why the police are justified in doing this particular shooting, okay? The officer has probable cause to believe that the subject possesses a threat of death or serious bodily injury to the officer, which he would have, or to others if apprehension is delayed. Okay, so if bodily injury to the officer or to others if apprehension is delayed. Okay, So if the guy turns around with the samurai sword, starts running towards people, is the apprehension delayed? Yes, it is. And with the apprehension being delayed, could he hurt other people if he got back into that Panda Express? Yes, he could. Could have killed everyone in there. Or he could have taken a hostage, which is a whole nother crappy situation. Okay? The officer reasonably believes that the use of deadly force is necessary to prevent death or serious bodily injury to the officer or another person, which is what we just talked about. If feasible, a verbal warning should be given by the officer prior to any use of deadly force under subsection 1B or 1C. If feasible, if you have time to, you should give a verbal warning, which in this case they did. They told him to drop the weapon. From all the accounts that I've heard, they told him to drop the weapon. So, is this case, question is this case about race, which is what everybody's trying to make it out to be. They're trying to make it another Ferguson about race. Was the Ferguson case about race? I don't know, and if I had to guess, I don't think so. I know a lot of police officers, a lot of good friends of mine, police officers, and none of which are racist, and I'll tell you this too. To become a police officer now, so maybe this didn't apply to some of the 25, 30-year vets, I don't know. But to become a police officer now, the polygraph testing, I'm talking about the state of Utah now because I'm pretty familiar with that. The polygraph testing is incredibly, if you're a racist, to go through the psychological and polygraph testing that the police have to go through before they're hired, you wouldn't get hired if you were racist. I can tell you that right now. They'd catch that. You don't get hired if you have had, you got to be a pretty clean person and pretty cool dude to get hired. You're not going to get hired if you're a racist. Because there are questions on the polygraph specifically asking about race, and if you're an inkling of racist, you're not getting hired. Guarantee you, in the state of Utah, if you're racist, you're not getting hired. So do I think this case is about race? Absolutely not. Are people trying to make it about race? Yes. And that brings me to my next point. And that is, in order to stop racism from happening, stuff like this has got to stop happening. Why is it when a white person gets shot, nobody cares? You don't hear anything. But when an African American, a Hispanic person, whatever, the race doesn't matter. When any of these other races get shot besides a white person, everybody freaks out, whether it's justified or not. Whether the shooting was a shooting that was, completely justified, which in this case I think it is. People are just trying to make it something it's not. And that is the reason that the race problems in our country now still exist. In order for race to stop, both sides of the aisle have got to stop. Not just one. And I've got a lot of friends who are African American, I've got a lot of friends who are Hispanic, and they all say the same thing. Now, do I know what it's like to grow up as another race? I don't. I don't know what it's like to grow up, to be an African American male growing up. I don't know what that's like. But I do know African American males that have lived to be 40, 50 years old, and they're friends of mine, who haven't been shot by police because they haven't gone into a Panda Express and threatened a bunch of people with a samurai sword. Which is what my point is. If you don't want to get shot by police, doesn't matter what color you are, whether you're purple, green, white, blue, black, doesn't matter. Well, if you don't want to get shot by the police, don't go into a Panda Express with a samurai sword, and don't go after police with a samurai sword. And you probably won't get shot. So that's the end of my video. Sorry that video was kind of heated, and I just feel pretty passionately about it because people that, I've been personally involved with and stuff like that are affected by this deal, and like I say, I don't want to downplay any part of the families of the people involved of the suspect that was killed. I feel for their families, and I hope the best for them. It's a crappy situation across the board, but let me just tell you that it is a crappy situation for the police officer too. Police officers do not go to work hoping that they can shoot someone if he's black or African American or whatever. They do not do that. They don't want to use their gun, trust me. So, at least all the ones that I know, and I know quite a few. So, alrighty guys, well, that's my video. Comment on there if you'd like, and let's have a good discussion going. If it gets to be anything but that, then we're going to shut the comments down. Alright? Thanks guys. Bye.